And we're off. Hey, everyone. Welcome on this February 5th, 2025, episode 460 of the All Dolphins podcast. Joined today by Dave Hyde, columnist for the South Florida Sun Sentinel, who has been knee deep, I would imagine, in covering the saga involving Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat, which is similar, kind of, sort of, to what the Dolphins are going through with one Tyreek Hill. How are you, Dave Hyde?
I'm doing well. And I thought of writing a column about the end of the Dolphin season, saying the similarities between the Heat and the Dolphins with these main characters and what do they do. I'm curious. We got about 24 hours from the Heat trade or not trade Jimmy, and what that means. So, I think all will be good and well with the Dolphins in the offseason. And it'll all be good and well. Everybody's happy. Everybody will be great. Tyreek's happy to be here until maybe the third week of November or something like that. Then we'll find out really, is he happy to be here?
I would think the Chiefs just continuing to have more and more success while he's away from the Chiefs has got to be exacerbating the situation for him. Like, he's got to be looking back and going, "Oh, I wanted my money. I wanted to be the guy, but these Super Bowls I'm missing out on."
It's hard to get both in sports. When you're winning, you want the money. You get the money, you want the winning. I think, look, most everybody in any job, first thing comes is the money, right? And then you want the add-ons, and winning's the second add-on. And again, I've said this before. If I was the general manager of the Dolphins and I heard Tyreek not go in the game, first thing I do is call his agent and an expletive-laced rant. Say, we just gave your guy everything he wanted, 3 years, $90 million, and we're getting this crap. Okay, and you take care of that, and we'll bring him in here. We'll talk to him, but we gave him exactly what he wanted, and we don't need to hear any of the stuff from him other than disappointed he's losing, and as everybody should be.
Yep. And here's the one, like, the dilemma is not the right word, but here's the one thing is he goes on Twitch, playing his video game while interacting with fans who are tuning in, and he's talking about, like, I was just frustrated, and then, like, challenging the Dolphins. I want some meffing dogs. Okay, well, here's the thing, Tyreek. It would be easier for the Dolphins to go out and get dogs, quote unquote dogs, if they had more salary cap room, which they would if you hadn't pleaded, asked, requested, begged for a new contract last offseason, and the Dolphin not acquiesced. So it's like he wants.
Look, I don't blame the players for wanting more money, getting more money. That's on the Dolphins. I mean, that was on them for here's the money, take money. We're in good shape, yeah. And so if I was a player, I'd take everything I could get too. Now, with it comes some responsibility of ownership of the team and appreciation for what the team has done for you. On the other hand, is anybody overly surprised? I mean, you shouldn't be.
No, but my point here on thing is, again, I understand Tyreek very much for wanting the new contract last year. I mean, obviously every player wants a new contract, and he was in a position where he has a stature to ask for that. But then don't go telling the team you got to bring in some dogs when part of the reason while they're limited in doing that is because of your contract. You can't have it both ways. And
or give back some money.
Sure. That'll work. That's a great idea, though. You know what? Let me compose an email here or send it off to. Yeah, that would work. And then you have Devon Achane, and to put some context into this, who appeared on the Up and Adams podcast. And among other things, he was asked about Tyreek's comment, and he basically said, "No, I don't think we need any more dogs. We have the talent in place." again, you're looking at a guy who's in his third year in the NFL. He's still in his rookie contract. He does not have, what's the word I'm looking for?
The gravitas.
Thank
the career
you.
gravitas. Yes.
Thank you. The resume to like speak out of turn and be telling the Dolphin front office what to do, basically. So again, it may very well be how he feels, but I think if you guys don't think that part of it is because, again, he's a third-year player on his rookie contract where he's not going to be speaking out of turn, that played a big role in it as well.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of players, they're, and understandably, so focused on what they're doing and everything, they don't have time to look at the big picture or energy or knowledge to, I mean, what are they going to say? Oh, we need a cornerback. Really? We got to, I mean, that's not their responsibility to give a roadmap to out of this morass the Dolphins are in. I mean, that's on the front office, and I think everybody appreciates that.
Correct. And yes, there are ways to get big fish if they become available. Myles Garrett, and we'll get to him in a second. But it requires cap gymnastics, and eventually at some point there's going to be a price to pay, whether it's having, you create a very high level for your top players, and then you have a big gap to the rest of your team, and then you wonder why your depth sucks when injuries hit. Or you can have a lot more good players, but not as many A and B players. And the Dolphins have found themselves in a position where when they went on the shopping spree with, acquiring Jalen Ramsey, acquiring Bradley Chubb, acquiring Tyreek Hill, giving them all new contracts. And then last summer, Jalen Waddle with a new deal, Tua new deal, Tyreek new deal, Jalen Ramsey new deal. And in the case of Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill, despite the team still having them under control for 2 more years. So they put themselves in the position where Tyreek it'd be great to go get some dogs. It's just not that easy. Having said that, Myles Garrett, if you can make it work financially, you go after him or no?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No chance. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with this. From a financial standpoint, is he a great player? Yeah. But you're assuming, I mean, you got a good young pass rusher. I get he's not at Myles Garrett's level. You got another one coming back healthy, and Bradley Chubb. Assuming he's going to be around. Now, are you going to dump Bradley Chubb? Maybe, but that just gets you a starting point of the offseason. Really, that doesn't even pay for Myles Garrett. They got salary cap issues to deal with. And so, I mean, the easy thing is, okay, they either redo Chubb's contract or get what's about $20 million by releasing him. But again, that's
first, which means you can't use that. You want to have that cap space until the free agency.
Right. So, but no, I do not get Myles Garrett. It's going to cost you draft picks. Okay, at some point, this franchise has to bet on getting some good. We're going to bring in good young players. They did that at the start of this. I mean, it's such a split personality what's going on in the front office. Start with the draft. Then, as you said, they went this wild spending spree that got rid of draft picks. And now, I just think they need to have back draft after draft after draft. I do not go. They've tried going after the shiny object, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, Bradley Chubb. You just can't keep doing that and assemble a good team. Because as you said, Belichick, who's right on some level, championship teams are won on the back half of the roster. All the contenders have great frontline players, enough great frontline players, contenders, not mediocre teams. But to really win a championship, you need that back half of the roster. My point is, I just don't see them. Do you see them going after Myles Garrett? You do.
Well, because here's the thing: is the Dolphins have put themselves. They're in no man's land. They're in no man's land because they have cap commitments to a select group of players for the next 2 years. after which to me is like the cutoff date to blow it all up if it hasn't produced. And then at that point, then you like start building, a strong foundation. Because right now,
see this to me is the backward. Look what the Rams did with their draft. Look what the Eagles did with their draft. They got all these guys are getting 2, 3, 4 frontline starters. That's what the Dolphins need to do. That's what they need to do, and supplement their pretty good players that way, not by going out and trading. Well, I'm sure you've written about it, and I apologize. I was starting to log on to see what you've written before we got on here. What would it cost for Myles Garrett?
What financial? The
trade. The trade.
Oh, well, depends.
Before we even get to the finances.
Well, it starts with a first and a first-round pick plus. I've seen some places where folks are suggesting at the very least 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
I kind of have a hard time.
At least a first and a second, right? At least a first
and a third and something like that.
I just don't. And then you throw on the money. How many of these deals are you gonna look? This is fantasy football. It's sort of what the Dolphins did with Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill, and everybody said, "Oh, they got a great player," and they did, but you have that much time to win with them. Where's the camera? That much time to win, and give me a good draft with a good. Go out and get a couple Pro Bowl players in the draft. Okay, that's what you got to. That's the way to win. It's not playing fantasy football.
I don't disagree, except I go back to my point that to me it's a 2-year window until you blow it all up, and that means, unless we've seen something different, that means Tua is gone, Tyreek Hill is gone, maybe Jalen Ramsey's gone, and then you're looking at a massive rebuild. So what gets you closer to the Super Bowl? Adding somebody like Myles Garrett and 5 C players, or adding 6 B- players. I don't know. And again, and the other part of it is,
how about you have a Rams draft? You get probably the rookie of the year, defensive lineman, and then you back him up.
Had one of those drafts, though.
Or what about the Eagles draft? First and second picks or starters on a Super Bowl secondary. I mean, that's what you have to do. We can play. Chris Greer's played fantasy football. Anybody could have made the trade for Tyreek Hill. Anybody. Sure. Do you want Tyreek Hill? Yeah, sure. Here. How many draft picks do you want? How much money do you want? Anybody could have done that. Jalen Ramsey, do you want him for a 3rd-round pick? Sure. Here's the money. That's not good front office work when you keep doing it time after time. Now, if you get one of those players to throw you over the top, that's different. But when you're building your roster this way, you're not going to win. You're just not going to win that way.
No, I don't disagree with you. And again, before we move on, I'm just going to go back to my point is I think the Dolphins have kind of committed to this approach until they have to blow it up. And your approach, which is a much sounder way of doing things and much more conducive to long-term success, that's not the route they went. And they had the opportunity with the 2020 and 2021 drafts, when they had all those picks, and they did have some good picks. They just didn't capitalize and maximize those. And I'm going to go back to, I wrote about this today, about trades the Dolphins made with the Chiefs. The Eagles that wound up helping them, and also where the Eagles succeeded and the Dolphins failed, and sometimes at the same time. And I cannot help but go back to that 2021 draft. Dolphins had the 3rd overall pick. They could have taken Jamar Chase there, which would have been fine. I don't mind it. Then they make the trade with San Francisco, which I loved. I mean, they would go with the hearts. Come on, do the hearts.
Come on, do it.
There we go. They move back from 3 to 12, pick up 2 additional future first-round picks and a 3rd to move down nine spots to where you can still get a great player. And then inexplicably, they move up to 6 to take Jalen Waddle. And no offense to Jalen Waddle, he's a good player. The Eagles, meanwhile, by the way, and the Dolphins passed up on Penei Sewell, who I mentioned a lot. You want to talk about foundation for your offensive line? Or maybe just the best defensive back in the NFL, Patrick Surtain II, who went 8th overall. But that's beside the point. Meanwhile, then when they went from 12 to 6, it was with the Eagles, who also wanted a wide receiver. So what the Eagles do, they traded a third to move up from 12 to 10, and they got Devontae Smith and picked up the Dolphins. One of those two future first-round picks the Dolphins got from San Francisco went to Philly, going from 6 to 12, and they got Devontae Smith. You're going to tell me there's a big difference between Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle after 4 years in the NFL if Smith's not even just outright the better of the two wide receivers?
And to rub salt in the wound, who went 13th in that draft?
Rashawn Slater.
Micah Parsons.
No, he went 12.
I mean, there's a lot of that's the thing when you go back in Dolphins history. I mean, you can go back and they're either or questions. Go back to Charles Harris draft. What was that? 2016, 17? 17, 21st, Charles Harris, defensive end, pass rusher. That's what they want. Who went 30th? One of the Watt brothers to Pittsburgh.
Watt.
You know, I mean, so that had to be in their wheelhouse. Okay, we need an edge rusher, and we see Charles Harris over, and those are the ones they have to get right, and that's where you build championships. It's not going out and getting Myles Garrett. I get your thinking. They got a finite window to win.
Mm-hmm. They put themselves in a tough spot. That's the bottom.
A real tough spot. You know why? Because they haven't had any front office leadership. What have they been doing? What was the plan? And you know, I'm confused. They were going through we're going to build through the draft. Nope, we're not going to build through the draft anymore. We're going to trade and get free agents to spend. And so. Yeah,
and then they should have stayed there because they started with it's all the picks. And then I don't know if they got greedy or what it was, but then it was like, okay, let's go get those.
Here's the bottom line. The bottom line, no matter how you cut it to their decision making, they didn't have a Pro Bowl player this year. Now you can argue as this guy should have made it or this guy, but the point is they didn't have a Pro Bowl player. I mean, that is hard to do in the NFL, not have and I get Johnny Smith went as a alternate or however that is. I'm talking the original,
correct?
The original vote. But you know there's a short answer to the problem with the Dolphins. And so when people say, "What do they need to draft?" I say, you know what? You could go any of 4 positions. They just need a great player. They need to get some great players wherever they are on the roster.
No, I agree. You want another draft horror story? 2013, the Dolphins had the 12th overall pick, moved down to 3rd, only cost them a 2nd-round pick. So hats off to Jeff Ireland for making that trade because that's insane value with that 3rd overall pick. However, the Dolphins took Deion Jordan. The Eagles were picking 4th that year. Who did they take? Lane Johnson.
I didn't know that. Wow.
6-time Pro Bowl selection, 5-time All-Pro Lane Johnson, who probably very well may wind up in the Hall of Fame. And by the way, you know who the starting right tackle was for the Dolphins in that 2013 season to illustrate the point that it wasn't that they couldn't have used a right tackle? It was Tyson Clabo. With all due respect to Tyson Clabo, Dolphins had a need for a right tackle.
That's a good one, Alan.
And I got another one for you. This is where the what ifs between the Dolphins and the Eagles. 2021 Dolphins had the 36th overall pick. That's early in the 2nd round, thanks to the Laramie Tunsil trade and the Houston Texans sucking in 2020. Dolphins took Javon Holland. Nice player. Player whose, to me, perception always was better than actually performance. Very next pick, the Eagles selected Landon Dickerson, who was a 2nd-team All-Pro this year. And again,
wow, that's a good one. That's 2 good ones. I didn't realize that. But it sums up, they're not good at identifying offensive linemen. Just are not.
I'll give you another one. How they wound up having to draft Jalen Waddle so high in 2021 and then trade for Tyreek Hill in 2022. 3 first-round picks in 2020. 5'18", and 26, which moved on to 30. At 18, they took Austin Jackson at tackle because they really, really wanted to tackle. Who went 21st? Justin Jefferson. They moved down from 26 to 30. The trade for Green Bay. They took Noah Benogany at 30. Who went first pick of the second round, 33rd? T. Higgins. You're going to tell me that those would not have been like.
Man, we can go. The sad thing, and this is what Dolphins in the offseason and the draft, spreading the pain. It's a generational thing. You got to share the pain. And how many of those what ifs? And it's not like, and they're either ors, almost either or situations, like the Penny Sewell. You look at the Lions draft room, the video they put out, and with the 6th pick, the Miami Dolphins select, and they hear it's not Penny Sewell. They erupt because that's who they wanted. They knew that was the guy they wanted, and so okay, yes, go get Myles Garrett. Yes, forget all that. They can't use their draft picks properly. Go trade them for Myles Garrett.
See, I've convinced you. No, and here's the thing is okay, and when I hear there's a former colleague of yours who tends to make the argument that the Dolphins always draft BPA, to which I call and are we going to tell me, because I recall in 2021 looking at a whole lot of draft boards before the draft, and I don't recall one place where Jalen Waddle was seen as a better prospect than Penei Sewell. And yet they wanted the speed wide receiver.
Yeah.
But hey, you're going to pick a wide receiver in the top 10. He better be special. Jamar Chase special, which is fine. But to me, always, if you got two prospects of similar potential ability, readiness, I think an offensive lineman is more valuable than a wide receiver. I don't know.
It just comes down to talent to me. Jamar Chase or Penei Sewell.
Oh, that's
either one. You give me either one.
Right.
I both of them are great players. I can live with either one of them. But yeah, I mean, when you compare 5th, 6th, and 7th picks that draft, there are two all-time greats. Two generational, this decade greats.
Yeah.
And another good player. And the Dolphins got, the number 2 receiver who's a good player.
That's painful. So having said all that, is there any scenario where the Dolphins can sniff the Super Bowl from where we sit right now? I mean, how bleak is it?
Sniff, you mean as in paying to go watch? Or
wow.
Actually,
I shouldn't be doing that because we're supposed to be.
It's hard. It's always hard at this point to say, "Oh boy, they can make it from nowhere." I'd be pressed to say, "Boy, if they do this, they can make the Super Bowl next year." I just don't. They got to. They got to hit home runs on everything. Of 2 draft picks who come in and immediately step in with impact. Free agent buys that fill holes but so it's always when you sit here and you look at the teams that make it, and even the teams that came close and didn't make it, and you say, no, the Dolphins don't stack up that way. So a lot of work to be done.
But here's one factor that I would mention, and this goes back to your point of nobody making the Pro Bowl this year. It's not because the Dolphins don't have Pro Bowl caliber players.
No.
For example, what they need is they need for Tyreek Hill, assuming he stays, and I will continue to make the argument that even though he is problematic, I'm trying to find a polite way of saying it, problematic.
He's a diva. I love diva. I love having divas on. I don't mind divas as long as they're fun. They're a fun person. But they got to be pointed towards winning. They got to be pointed to winning.
Yeah, I think diva is kind of a little bit soft of a term for him. So I'll say problematic. But the Dolphins are not better without him. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that for a millisecond. So if he goes back and has a Tyreek Hill season like 2022, 2023, if Teron Armstead does come back and knock on wood, finally avoids the injury issue and is not playing on one knee at the end of the season. Tua doesn't miss any games. Who else? If guys all play up to their potential, that's going to be all it requires, but that's going to be a big step toward.
Do you bring back Teron Armstead? That's an interesting. Let's start there.
Probably not. It's got a 22 million cap number, and again, he's missed too much time probably for me to.
That's me. That's where I'm at. I mean, you can't keep investing that number on a guy. I mean, let's talk about playing into deep part of January and February, and he wasn't certain to be playing, right? I mean, again, and that's every year. So if I'm running the team and I'm spending, if you're spending $5 million, I'll take the risk. $22 million, I mean, you got to be sure these guys you're investing in are going to be around playing, and that also is to we talked about going out and buying players. Look at all these guys are over 30 now. I mean, Tyreek, Jalen Ramsey, Bradley Chubb, I think is 29. Your roster, they're in the back. They're getting there where they're not. The Super Bowl rosters are full of 25, 26, 27-year-olds, and that's so. I'm just curious to see some of with Teron Armstead. Can you just I just can't keep investing in that when you're not sure he's going to be there.
No, but you move on from him, and then logically you drafted Patrick Paul in the second round last year. He slides in there, but he's kind of an unknown commodity. This is why
he's a second round draft pick in his second year. Yes. If you're Chris Greer and you can't get a serviceable year out of that guy, well, he's going to be gone anyways if they don't get a serviceable year out of him. But that's what you're paid for. There's where. I mean, the fact he gives on scholarship this year, a second round pick on full scholarship. Nowhere else in the league does that happen.
Yeah, and it wasn't the first time. It was the second year in a row where the Dolphins' second round pick barely saw the field because it happened with Cam Smith last year. And that's part of the issue with the Dolphins is they have not gotten enough contributions from their draft picks. And that's another way for them to improve is getting, for another example would be Chop, who was very good in the second half of the season, but being that player from the start, number one.
No. I look, Chop was everything you could expect a rookie pass rusher to be. They're overwhelmed at the start. This is a whole new game for them. They're going against men. Look at Jalen Phillips' rookie year. Same thing. Second half of the year he came on. Okay, that's what you wanted to see, progress. And now you go into year two and you build off that and you hope, okay, he's going to have a nice year from the start. So that was to me, that was the year you want from a rookie pass rusher.
Okay. Dave Hyde with the counterpunch on my chop. I'm sorry. Damn. Okay. Let me close with this. So this, not that it should have been surprising, but this week Adam Schefter threw out as a possible backup for the Dolphins, Marcus Mariota. You okay with that? You good with that one?
Well, if he's who is they deem as the best backup quarterback available, I'm okay with it. What I didn't like to hear is, well, Tua would be great with it because they're both Hawaiians and all that. I don't care about that. Why would the Dolphins care about that? At some point, you gave Tua the big contract. You've given him the keys to the franchise. Do you have to keep we're going to give you a guy you really like as your backup? No, get the best guy for the franchise. And maybe it is Marcus Mariota. Maybe that's what all their work has done. And then this is a bonus that they both Hawaiians and I know Tua looked up to him as a kid. That's great. That's a great storyline. But the most important thing is if the season falls to him for a month, is he the best backup quarterback you could get this offseason? Not his friendship with Tua.
No, that's fair. But to me, it's like I look at all the veteran backup quarterbacks who are going to be available or are scheduled to be free agents. Is there really a huge difference between Marcus Mariota, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, Teddy Bridgewater? I have to whisper him because his name elicits a lot of negative comments. No, they're not going to resign. I can't imagine they'll resign Teddy Bridgewater because he was always injured when they had him that first year, and that's the last thing they want. But is there really a big difference in terms of ability between all those guys? And after you answer, I got another name to throw at you. Go ahead.
Is there a big difference? No, but there must be some differences. And you look at the offense you want to run and all that. And this comes down to picking the right guy. And I will say, they shouldn't be done with that. The quarterback room isn't done there. Okay. Go out and get somebody in the first somewhere you like. You can build on a young quarterback, a maybe, because this is how you stay out of this situation. Either as you develop a backup, or you develop some guy who you get lucky and he develops into something where he's a starter. But this quarterback room shouldn't be, we signed Marcus Mariota or Andy Dalton or whoever they deem as best, and we're done with. Let's go on to something else. No, they got to rebuild that quarterback room behind Tua. No,
but they're financially committed to Tua for the next 2 years. So yeah. I wrote a column that, to me, and I'm going to give away something here. Again, gang, please like and subscribe. I forgot to mention that. And please check out the website, MiamiDolphinsOnTheSide.com. Free content popping up about 5 stories a day. And one of the stories I have up today is interesting nuggets from the Boston Sports Journal indicating that there's a belief around the league that the Patriots will be considering perhaps trading Joe Milton III this offseason. And this is a guy, if you've been watching this podcast, and this, if Omar were here, Omar would throw out the arm queen thing. Sure, I'm an arm queen. I like guys who have bazookas and who are 6'5", 235 and can run, because I think there are interesting possibilities there.
But Alan, that's my point.
Right.
And you said, well, Tua is going to be a starter the next 2 years. Of course he is. But draft another guy you like, a young guy, a flyer. Maybe he becomes something. Maybe he doesn't. But you got to start investing in that way, which you haven't done.
But my point is if you're going to spend like a 3rd or 4th round pick on a guy who's just a good college quarterback, doesn't have any specific great tool or physical trait, that guy, history tells us, and look around the NFL, is not going to become a starter in the NFL. This is why, unless I favor, if there's a guy who's got something that stands out, such as the huge arm and the size, i.e. Joe Milton, if the Patriots indeed are going to trade him because they just spent a 6th round pick last year on him, they figure they can turn him around for a 4th or a 3rd this year. I wrote, and I'll explain it on MiamiDolphinsOnTheSide.com. Please check it out. Dolphins would be crazy not to get on the phone and talk to the Patriots at the very least. And
the Patriots probably say, we're not trading him in the division because who knows? We don't want that to. But my point,
the Dolphins would say, you owe us for Wes Welker.
But you can find lower round draft picks who have occasionally make a Kirk Cousins occasionally makes it. And all I'm saying is,
give me a name. Give me a name, Dave. Give me a name since 2017 other than Brock Purdy, who became a quality NFL starter, passed. And no, I'll make it easier for you. Since 2012, you mentioned Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson went in the 3rd round. Since 2012, other than Dak Prescott in the 4th round in 2017, Brock Purdy in the 7th round in 2022 it was. Go ahead, name me another.
Is there any? I don't know.
There aren't any. There aren't any.
But why can't you be the guys who drafted Milton? Why did he went the 5th round? 6th round. Why weren't you on board with that? I mean, again, that gets out to a little outside of their box, thinking outside their box a little. And so if there is a guy, yes, take him, get him. I mean, so they've done it the same way. And I was on radio here locally, and and I was like, there's got to be all sorts of pressure on Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel this year. And the throwback was, well, you need consistency. You need consistency to win. And I said, I agree. And I think 10 years of Chris Greer running the draft and the personnel side, or 7 years as a general manager, I think that's consistency. And you know what else is consistent? They haven't won anything. So at what point is consistency stop? So don't tell me they have to be consistent. They have been very consistent in there.
No, I agree. Okay, then the other one I was going to mention is last offseason, the Denver Broncos ate cap space to basically say bye-bye Russell, to say bye-bye Russell Wilson. Yeah. And then the Steelers signed him basically for the veteran minimum because he was making his money from Denver. Possible that the same scenario could occur in 2025 with Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins becomes available and you can get him for the veteran minimum, is that somebody you bring, or are we?
I think you're dreaming. I think if you're Kirk Cousins, you say, I'm going to go to a place I can start or have the chance to compete to start. And that wouldn't be here. So let's say all his options are null and void. Absolutely, you bring him here. But I just don't think that's what I just don't think is reasonable. Especially now he's saying he was hurt at the end of last year, and that played into his bad play. And so there are enough teams out there that need a quarterback. The Raiders, you can go down the list. That he can go to a place where he says, "Okay, I'm competing against that guy. I can beat him out in starts." That he would go.
Okay, fair enough. It's very interesting, by the way. You mentioned that he revealed that he was hurt, and then Orlando Ledbetter, longtime Falcons writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, tweeted saying, "We asked you repeatedly if you were injured, and you told us never."
What are you gonna? I mean, look, this is one I give the players all leeway on injuries. Why would he say in the middle of the year, "Oh yeah, my arm's hurt"? Yeah. I mean, what is the value in that? I mean, so you have to. I get it. It's frustrating on our end. You asked a guy. I mean, it's like Tyreek Hill. It's frustrating on our end. You got, well, let's see, which wrist did I say was hurt? Oh, I said this one in training. Oh, no, I said this one. And then someone in the Dolphins told me, he's fine. There's no injury in the wrist. And then at the end of the year, his agent said his wrist was broken, which if his wrist was broken and the Dolphins didn't have him on the injury report at the start of the year, that should be a massive fine on the Dolphins. So, look, the injury is the tightrope of trying to discern truth from not truth at times is an issue. But in Kirk Cousins' case, I don't expect him to tell the truth. If you ask him, be going to a game, are you hurt? Oh yeah, my arm's hurt. I can't throw the ball. I can only throw it 15 yards. Why would so? I look. I get the reporter being frustrated, but that's when I give leeway for.
Okay, fair. Before we let you get out of here, Dave Hyde, official Super Bowl 59 prediction.
I'm just typing that into the Sun Sentinel as I'm right before this, but no, so I'm making it up is what I'm saying as I go. Here's my thought on the Super Bowl. Philadelphia has the best roster. Mm-hmm. Kansas City has the best player at the most important position. I'm gonna say Philadelphia 27-24. Go that route.
Okay, I would have no problem with that. I haven't named my official prediction yet. That's coming Friday, I think. But no, I'm. My hope is a good game, good close game, and that we don't have to talk about the officiating after the game.
Please, I agree with you. Please just get the calls right, and if you're going to get them wrong for Philadelphia, not for
exactly. Exactly. So. Okay, that's going to wrap it up. Please like, subscribe. Thanks as always to Dave Hyde, columnist for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Catch his fine work at sunsentinel.com. Catch my fine work or my passable work, however you want to describe it, at Miami Dolphins on SI.com. We'll be back here Friday, unless, as usual, there's Dolphins news that breaks. They're kind of in a quiet moment right now because everybody's taking a back seat because it's Super Bowl week. So in the meantime, have a great rest of your Wednesday, everyone. Thank you.